plant people, welcome back if you're returning to my channel, and if you are new here, my name is Jen. I go by The Leafy Geek, here also on Instagram, and today being my second video since returning to YouTube after a pretty significant hiatus, I thought we'd just have some fun, and I thought I would just give the people what they want. So along those lines, some of you might know that I am a Hoya collector. I don't consider myself anything other than a very, very amateur Hoya collector. And that being said, I am still learning about the species and more, or this genera, I should say, and more specifically than that even, I'm still learning how to learn about this group of plants, if that makes any sort of sense. For me, taxonomy is a big interest, and specifically, plant taxonomy and categorization. Hoya have been a significantly difficult genera for me to kind of pick up on the learning. And I don't know if I can explain that any better than that. I know that there are a number of really informed and informative people and communities that have just vastly more detailed and accurate knowledge than I have. And I would like to, if I can, list some of those resources in my description below. A lot of them exist, on and off YouTube and the YouTube plant community. So I really feel like if I can support anybody who's kind of in that same place with Hoya and wanting to know more and kind of struggling on where to start or continue your learning journey with Hoya, I'm a big advocate of just sharing amongst ourselves and each other everything that we know and everything that we want to know. So open and honest here, full disclosure, I'm not a professional Hoya collector. I don't breed Hoya. I don't, is breed even the right word? I don't know. I don't collect pollen. I don't try and collect seed. I don't, cross-pollinate anything. I'm not into that. I'm still learning how exactly to figure out where to find information that's accurate about Hoya and Hoya species. And something I'm very interested in, of course, is learning where my Hoya come from, learning their endemic kind of natural environments where they are found in the wild, and then also learning from my cultivars and the ones I have that are crossed with other, with different species, still putting all of those pieces together. And I feel like that's okay. I hope you feel that's okay too if you're in that same place. We can enjoy these plants without having to know everything about them. That's 100% correct and okay. But for those of us who are trying to know more, I hope that I can at least kind of show you what I've got and contribute in that way. But just know that I still very much consider myself an amateur. Even with this genus, one of my favorites of all plants, really. So I know that was kind of a long-winded disclaimer, but I just wanted to put that out there. So we're going to do a Hoya tour. We're going to take a deep dive into what plants I have in my collection at this time. I currently have 80 plants, 80. They are... I know I have some duplicates in terms of species. I have a couple of different varieties of a few species, but 80 rooted plants in my collection, plus then a couple of cuttings or a couple of specimens that I am trying to rehabilitate or reroot. I'm definitely putting off some of the action I know I'm going to need to probably take. As many of us in the Hoya community know, the great flat mite debacle of 2022 is a thing, and I am trying to plan my attack for that, just because that feels very huge and overwhelming, and I'm just kind of operating on the assumption that I likely have some because a few of my Hoyas, more than a few of my Hoyas over the last however many years, or some as long as I've had them, have displayed symptoms that are, you know, just commonly talked about now and are, you know, spreading like wildfire in terms of what to look for and how to address them. I'm still planning my attack. I think I'd really like to explore beneficial insects. Just with the size of my collection, I feel like that's going to be ultimately a way for me to try and address this. But yeah, I'm still exploring options. But I'll show you the ones that are doing quite well, and I'll also point out the ones that I am a little suspicious of in terms of those bastards. So let's get into a tour. I'm going to start in this room. I'm currently sitting in my plant room, I call it. It's my spare bedroom, technically an office, but it is a plant room. And then I think more specifically, it's the Hoya room now. So we'll start here. It's a good place to start. So the first Hoya I want to show you in here is my Imbricata. And this is, and has been, a wish list Hoya for me. Absolutely. It's doing really well. The moment I got it, and this is a couple of years ago now, it went straight into this jar, and it's basically an enclosed terrarium setup here. And it's grown. I've got a lot of growth on it. I've got a, you can see all the way back there, multiple vines, multiple growth points. It's one of those Hoya that really needs as much humidity as you can give it. The way I have found that to work the best has been in this enclosure. Just a really awesome Hoya, but I don't know, guys, this might end up being a two-parter video because I'm going to be very tempted to spend time on every single plant in this room, and that's going to take forever. That will be essentially an 80-minute long video. So we'll kind of see if we can pick up the pace a little. You can see here this is a Hoya Affinis, not doing as well as it could be, and I have concerns that it's just been a little bit too wet in the medium that I have it in. I did pot this in medium when I was missing my regular components for Hoya mix. I tend to make my own mixes for soil. All of my Hoya are in soil or some degree of, I guess, soil medium, some sort of combo. It's usually grit or perlite and some bark, and then kind of peat-free kind of compost. But this one I think I do need to repot or at least do a root check and get it into some better soil. I've got a Hoya Imperialis right there that has been traveling its way up to the ceiling. I've got one long runner on that. It has bloomed once for me, which was real interesting. I have a big peduncle right there, but it's finally started to put up leaves again, so that's ideal. I've been evaluating my Hoya just on, you know, kind of the length of time it's taken some of them, or how long it's been since I've seen a new leaf, to kind of try and identify some of the potential problems. So I have two species of Hoya, or two plants, different specimens, I should say, of Hoya Fungii. Those are right here. This one has bloomed for me before. Doing pretty well. Back here, this guy has been doing extraordinarily well. This is an unsolicited plant tox specimen. You'll see I've got quite a few here from UPT. But this is Hoya Sp 22 Khao Yai. This one I've kind of gone back and forth on the mite situation with, but it has so many new growth points that I'm struggling to kind of come to terms with the fact that it might have mites. I honestly, it's been hard for me to tell on that one, but it's been growing recently, so I'm kind of leaning toward the no on that. Camphorifolia right here. This one's doing well. This one's just been solid for me. It's a thinner leafed specimen. Back there we've got Hoya Bhutanica, and this one sun stresses really, really well. This has been in the same position for at least a year now. You can see I've got a new vine coming out the top there. This is one of my newer ones. This is from Steve's Leaves. This is Hoya Cutis-Porcelana. And it's another thin-leafed variety. It reminds me a lot of Fungii, with that subtle veining there. But it's a decent specimen. It's got multiple grow points on it. It arrived with a damaged vine, which I'm trying to kind of protect a little bit because it wasn't cut all the way through, but I think that will probably eventually have to come off because I don't think it's very stable. Hoya MB Linh. This one, I'm trying to remember where I got this one from. This one did nothing for kind of a long time for me. I think this was a Cocoa Ranch Hoya. And it has, this last season, put out this vine. Well, it had the vine, but then I've since seen a couple of leaves show up. Those are new. So that's a pretty cool one. I've got, these are probably my newest Hoya in my collection. These are unsolicited plant tox purchases. They are pretty phenomenal in terms of the varieties, but also then just the quality of the specimens that they provide. So this is a Chelsea. I'll show you my original Chelsea in a minute, and that might help you understand why I got this big, beautiful guy. But then I also have Merillii over here. And again, you'll see my original. I have smaller specimens of both of these, and neither of them have been doing very well. So when I saw these on UPT, I was like, yep, go for it. Back there, I have a Dasyantha. This is one for me that has been struggling. It does have this new vine out, but I'm also just kind of eyeballing the state of the leaves back here, and I've got one that's ready to go, and a couple other ones that aren't looking so good. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one, and probably doing something to rectify that and try and figure out what's going on with it. And then I've got, oh, I think this is Lobbii. Lobbii, I know that's a question I have in terms of correct pronunciation. If you separate the vowels of the two I's in the name, or if it's just one sound. So Lobbii, Lobbii. I'm from the upper Midwest, so we tend to make as many vowel sounds out of a word as we can. So to me it's Lobbii. But this one's been turning around for me. This one wasn't doing much for a while, and then this season, I think from here, I think it's put out 2 sets of leaves this season, which, as I understand, Lobbii is can be a slower growing specimen, so happy to see that. That gets some good natural light during the day. This is Hellwigiana. This is another newer purchase for me. I got this one this summer. And it's a pretty one. It's got a new leaf. Right there. Doing a good job. This one, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I always get this one confused with Clemensiorum. I think it's Densifolia, technically, is the name. I have, again, mixed feeling. It's not my favorite Hoya. It's just survived for me, so I appreciate it for that. But it's really not the most attractive Hoya to me. Never really has been. Just this kind of growth I'm not a huge fan of, and the leaves are kind of thin and they're not the same size. I don't know. It's not the prettiest Hoya to me, but I appreciate it for its tenacity and wanting to survive. I've kind of brought it back from neglect a few times with cuttings and such, and each time it's taken off. Back there, all the way back here, is a Hoya Sunrise, again from UPT. Oh, and I just lost its latest bloom. This thing blooms constantly for me, the Sunrise. Does a really good job. I've got peduncles down there. I don't know if you can see that one. Kind of around the corner here, if you can see those. And then right here in front of it, this is a newer one. This is one I got this year. This is from Steve's Leaves, actually. This is Hoya Clemensiorum. I'm really excited about this one, acquiring this one. Just a really pretty Hoya. Those veins. Moving right along here. Trying to go as slow as I can and prevent shaking. I'm not very good at that, guys. So I'm trying to remember what the variety is of this one. I don't have a tag in it. I usually have tags in these. But unfortunately, I'm totally drawn a blank. I will put the name on the screen if I can find it. Globulosa? That's a guess. But I do have a new growth point on it. This is new as of this year. If you guys can see that right there. It's pretty cool. Then I've got my classic Australis, new growth. This one shot up a run or two, kind of all the way up. I don't know where it's going. There's not light up there, so whatever. It's doing pretty well. And then this is my Pubicalyx, Splash. I love Pubicalyx. It's one of my favorites. I know it's just a a common run-of-the-mill Hoya. You can find it everywhere, but I love this plant. It can grow very thick and lush, and it just does very well. It's an easy one to go to, in my opinion. If you're getting into Hoya, definitely go for the Pubicalyx. And there's a lot of different varieties that you can collect for these. It's pretty fun. I also have back here, let's see what you are, my Skinneriana. It's a pretty basic one. It's basic green. Pretty good grower for me. It's wrapped itself around this trellis a couple of times. And I don't have it in direct light, and it still does really well. It'll just grow where you put it. It's kind of a workhorse. One of my workhorse Hoyas. Over here, got a couple more varieties right here. So Hoya Pubicalyx White Dragon is now known as its own variety, or it has been for a while. It's known as Hoya Celata. So they determined this one was not a Pubicalyx, but as you can see, likes where I have it. Got a few grow points here. Right here too, kind of all the way up. I don't know what that's doing. Behind that, this is one of the ones I'm a little bit worried about because I've got some die-off here. This is Verticillata. It's an interesting looking plant. It's got some really good texture to its leaves. It's more like the veins are raised and less like they are contrast on the leaf. But this one's been pretty slow. I haven't seen new growth on it for a little while, so I'm a little bit concerned about this one. And then over here is my Hoya Ngong Ngoy. I'm worried about this one too. There's just a lot of interesting kind of growth points on it that are kind of trying to start and then stopping. I guess that's a telltale sign of the blight that we now know as flat mites. So probably going to take a closer look at this one too. And I think, you guys, that's where I'm going to have to pause and film a part 2 for this video, because I think this is getting a little bit long. I want to make sure that I have some time to devote to the rest of my collection. So stay tuned. I'm going to post a part 2 of my Hoya update as soon as possible. It will hopefully be within a day or two of this video. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will be back with more Hoyas.